I guess the history of Snell-Hitchcock, I guess, really probably starts with a murder named Snell. Um, Snell had a large amount of property in the Chicago area and was also somewhat of a paranoid figure. He was always afraid of looking behind his. He was always like looking behind his back, expecting someone to be there. This is really brought upon by right before he moved to Chicago. His house was broken into, and the perpetrator was caught and thrown in prison. And then, about I believe around 10 years after he moved to Chicago, the burglars were released from prison, and he once claimed that one of these burglars had sent him a threatening letter claiming that they were going to kill him. One afternoon, he was at a bar and claimed that he had premonition that he was going to die that night. And in fact, he was woken early that next morning, around 2, to sounds in the first floor of his house. He walked down there and was shot and killed. This is a major event at the time. It's in a bunch of the papers. I believe that they were even made in the New York Times. And his wife, Henrietta, put up a significant sum as reward for information on linked to the rest of his killers. This, I look back and they never really conclusively figured out who killed him. And someone was charged around 1920 or so, but the records are not there. I can't really tell what happened in the case. What's interesting is that she didn't keep his reward up for very long. I believe it was maybe posted for around 4 years. And then she withdrew it. Like she figured at that time, cold cases usually remain cold cases forever. We didn't have crime technology and anything about it. And so she had a sum of money that had been put aside for this. And she was wondering, well, I decided, well, why don't I name something after Davis? And at this time, the University of Chicago, having been reformed after the closure of the original University of Chicago, was looking for donors to build new buildings. And one of the buildings they required was the men's dormitory. So she wrote a letter to board trustees, and they accepted their debt. And in 1891, they began constructing a building that cost approximately $50,000. At the same time, there were many other buildings being built. Cobb was barely finished by October 1st, 1892, when the university officially opened. And by that time, there was solely Cobb and Gates Blake Goodspeed, which at that time were called North, Middle, and South Halls. Those also housed male students, but they were primarily designed for graduate students. Women students lived in a hotel, the Aviation Hotel, which was, I believe, at 58th and Dorchester. And for the first 2 quarters of the university, the operation of the university, the women's students lived there. There was a women's dorm in construction, Nancy Foster Hall, which is no longer a dormitory. It's used by the psychology department. But unfortunately, at the conclusion of the winter quarter of 1893, the hotel kicked out women's students. I'm not really sure what happened. At that time, those details weren't really discussed in the press, so I can't find anything. But they were faced with a housing crisis. There were around 30 or 40 female students that needed housing, and there was nothing available to them in the neighborhood. However, Snell had been finished, but had been endowed as a men's dorm. They they wrote Henrietta Snell asking for permission, stating that we're in dire need of housing, we need space for these students, can we use the dorm, despite the fact that it is well, it is endowed as Women's Silver. And she agreed. And for spring 1893, Snell was a Women's Silver. Apparently becoming the first women's dorm on co-ed campus by reputation. I'm not completely sure that's true. I can't really find the documentation. For that first quarter, the Dean of Women, Marion Talbot, served as the head of Snell. And at that time, they first started laying out the foundation for the house system, as far as having a body that governed the house, having the head run up most of the operations, including students. When they moved in, they barely moved into Snell. It was the day they moved in, the trenches from building the foundations were still there. They had to walk across some planks to get to the front door. There was no running water in the building, which was a major problem. I'm not exactly sure how they solved that, not having running water. One of those things additives at the time don't really discuss what they did do. One thing you can see, this picture here, is this extra chimney. This is actually the first powerhouse for the university. That supplied steam to the entire campus, which this time was 4 or 5 buildings. We can actually see, if you go into the basement, this trunk room, you can just see there's a doorway cut in the wall where there was access to the basement of this building where the steam came through. And so, in 1893, this is the building was built, right? Nothing here, there was no buildings across the street from it. The streets themselves were dirt. They weren't even paved. By the end of the school year 1893, Foster had been completed, so they set things up very top of the head of Foster and moved up there. They decided to appoint Amos and Watson Stagg as the first male head of Snell. He had already been a major force in the creation of football as a sport. And William Rennie Harper sought him out as the ideal choice in developing sports program at the university. And in fact, the first football team on campus was made up of members of Snell House. They would actually practice before we had the field set up. Originally Marshall Field, then later named Stagg Field, now where the Reaganstadt is. Before we had that as a practice service, they actually practiced that on our block. And there isn't too much else to say about Snell. Unfortunately, the records of the times aren't very detailed. A lot of it's just been lost in the course of time. I know who all the rest of the heads were during that time. That's really the only information I was fortunate to find. Otherwise, not much else happened during the period between Snell being built and Hitchcock being built. There's still happening Snell after Hitchcock was built. But so now Hitchcock. So around 10 years after Snell had the gift of Snell given, another gift was offered to the university by Mrs. Annie Hitchcock, who was the wife of prominent lawyer Charles Hitchcock, who had served as the president of the Illinois Constitutional Convention in 1881. She was a close personal friend of university president William Rennie Harper, and